One of the first steps to being free is to become free in your mind. Without freedom in your mind driving you forward, breaking the shackles, then the rest of you will never be free. The religious cults of Abraham have applied physical, financial, mental shackles on the masses. And for many, these beliefs in a sand cult mythos is fine. It gives them good feelings, but they are the children, and they'll forever be locked into that children mindset. So what I want to do is I want to expose Abraham. Now, we've already done a lot of this exposing of Abraham in the books that we have out, and as we come out with more, we're going to continue to do so. We show the cults of Abraham as being nothing more than imposters. They are fraudulent foreign religions forced upon our northern pagan ancestors to subjugate everyone, to enslave everyone, including us too. So let's start. I'm going to read only this one, and it is 1 Corinthians 13. And if you go to 11, when I was a child, I spoke as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. Time for some childish things to get put away. So let's do that. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know, even as also I am known. Now, what does that mean? Now you're going to have so-called Bible scholars pontificating and giving you feeling-based sermons and messages, and you pay the man at the altar and you walk away with butterflies and rainbows. However, what does that really mean? Okay, now I see through a glass darkly. First off, a child. When does this time period of childhood in northern paganism? This time frame is during the time of the maiden. It's June. We get the month name June from that, young June. So this time of innocence and childhood is during that youthful time frame, May and June. But then they put away those childish things, and now we see through a glass darkly. What is that? Okay, that is the wintertime sky. If you look at the wintertime sky chart, that is the darkened glass. That is the darkened mirror. The sun that does not rise but merely skirts the horizon. So you see through that glass darkly, but then you shall see face to face. So what is that? That's just simple. The cosmic rotation and the change of seasons then brings in the springtime, and you shall see face to face. That is it. That is the transition from youth into adulthood. Follows the course of the pagan year from maiden or youth to Balder being my stone, and the light being strong, into the father's time. Oh, now the adult comes into play. And then you shall see darkly through that mirrored glass, through that water, through that sky, and then you shall see face to face, clearly face to face, and that's just the rotation back to spring. That's all that is. Now, we've pointed these out in our books. I'm not going to go and read them from that document. But we have a story where, in the Bible, where the God of the Bible sends fiery serpents among his people because they wanted to return to the ways of eating watermelons and leeks and and you're told that this is, well, that's because that's what they had in Egypt. Okay, so he set fiery serpents among them. And then what happened? And then Moses put a serpent on a post, and anyone who looked upon that serpent longingly would then be healed of those fiery serpents. So we saw the fiery serpents. Now, wouldn't it be just simply amazing? By the way, that fiery serpent is the wintertime sky. So what do we see happen? Well, we see the springtime sky, and we see that fiery serpent moving around, and then we have the summertime sky. There's you, there's the mast, okay, the fiery serpent. The serpent that Moses lifted up on the mast is nothing more than Draco or Jormungandr, that is now in the summertime sky upon the mast. Oh, right, and while we're at it, here, you want to see that the Bible story where the serpent bruises the heel of Jesus, but Jesus shall crush the head of the serpent. There, that's all it is. That right there. That is that Bible mythos. We have another one. Oh, in the summertime sky, when the mythical figure Jesus gets baptized, right there in the water, the sea, and a dove descends down. Here's the cosmic fowl and says, "This is my beloved son in whom I am well pleased." That's all it is. That's the summertime sky. What else we have? Oh, we have the death and resurrection of Jesus. Okay. The first time Jesus came, he was a teacher and he was passive, but he's coming back as a warrior, and there's going to be a sword, the sword of truth, protruding from his mouth. Okay, so you have this. There you have him. No weapons. There you have the dancing little happy figure of the summertime sky. And wouldn't it be something if that figure that was right there, okay, now look at, he's lifted up, just like the serpent was lifted up upon the pole of Moses. You have the summertime hero. You have the mythos of Jesus upon the tree, crucified upon the tree. And then what happens? Well, then they say, they placed him in a tomb for 3 days. Look, Jesus is, according to their mythos, look at, he's going into the underworld. See? Now, he rotates. He goes into the underworld, and he's there for 3 days, right? Because they place him in a cave, and he descends and he witnesses to the demons or whatever he does down there, okay? And he set the captives free, right? And then in the second coming, behold, you will look to the east and see Jesus coming in the clouds with a sword of truth protruding from his mouth in that day. Okay, look, as they have their non-weaponized Jesus moving into the underworld, which you will rotate to the underworld because that's the way constellations move. Look what's starting to appear over here. Okay, this is the Father. This is Thor, the Father's time hero, starting to come into view, but he's not quite into view yet. Okay, summertime Thor has to move all the way out of view, go into the underworld. Now, autumn sky. One season is approximately 12 weeks. So that's 12 weeks, 3 months, 3 days in the tomb, and then he rose. Right, according to their mythos, according to where they took their mythos from. Yeah, in the sky. That's all they took it from. And then, behold, from the east, coming in the clouds, that's the autumn sky, and we move to the winter sky, and there he is. Look. There is their sword coming from the mouth right here, and that is, he came from the east, and that is their warrior. That is their savior, according to their mythos. So, there is so much more. I could go on and on and on, and I'm putting little bits in each one of our books because the silliness of their belief system becomes overwhelming, especially when you realize that they drove this down the throats of our ancestors forcibly. Otherwise, I mean, if you didn't go to their weekly indoctrination, you would lose your land. You would be cast into dungeons and tortured if you did not believe, if you did not say that 100% this was literal truth. So it has to be exposed. But then one could say, well, okay, it's all of this is just nonsense. And if you're running low on toilet paper, there you go. You got some. And they usually give it away for nothing. But there was something. Now, what do you have? What do you have if once you realize, and the religious cults of Abraham are huge into symbolism. I mean, they have altar calls, and they have genuflecting. Every knee you shall bow, remember? Genuflecting before their cross, and they have taken their little wafer that they say becomes the actual literal body of Christ. Full of symbolism. Why? Why do they use that symbolism? Because right here, by having you repeat it over and over and over and over, they enslave. So, as part of symbolism, repeat after me. Repeat after me. As part of, once you realize that is nothing more than a fake, invented sand cult religion forced upon our ancestors to do nothing more than to enslave them. Repeat after me. Jesus is fake. Jesus is fake. Repeat it. And the Bible is a fraud. The Bible is a fraud. Symbolism. Repeat that every day. Every single day. Jesus is fake and the Bible is a fraud. Symbolism. You have got to undo the programming that, even though you may not believe in any of that now, it's so forced over the centuries upon our blood memory that you've got to undo that. You've got to undo that symbolism. You've got to undo that symbolism. If you want to make a even more physical gesture other than just words, go outside, face the north, where your ancestors are from. Northern pagan ancestors, and face the north and say, I believe in you, ancestors. I believe in how you got me here. And what you believed in, that spirit of strength, passion, courage, valiancy, honor, our folk soul. But one may say, the Bible's a fraud. I'm just going to believe in what I am right now. My ancestors, my mom and my dad, they gave birth to me. Before them, it was my grandparents, my great-grandparents. That's where I get my strength from. Fine. Okay, fine. But at some point, that would be thinking as a child, at some point you have to say, where did they get their strength from? Where did our ancestry back the clock up? Keep backing up. Pretty soon, those religious cults of Abraham are not there. And they're not 12,000 years old. What they do, the oldest text is the Old Testament, and that is about 550 BCE. And then they just use their own texts, not only to declare a holy land in the sand, but to use birth dates of 990 years and all this to come up with a 12,000-year-old text. And that's the insanity of it all. So you don't have to go back very long. If you go back 2,500 years, you're already pre-religious cults of Abraham. You may find some areas where you can see where they took their things from, like Zoroastrianism and things like that. But that's even a religious cult that was created. It's very much similar to Christianity, created to try to subjugate people. And that came, and it's not really popular right now, but you have to ask yourself, where did that strength of my ancestors come from? If I'm just going to believe in my ancestors and that's all I have, where did they get their strength? And the answer to that question is they got it from a belief system, yes, based on northern nature and northern cosmic movements, to portray it to us. The Bible takes it and makes it literal and says, boom, you're enslaved by it, and I'll pay the man at the altar. Become meek while we steamroll you. Ours was, no, you stand. You stand for family, folk, and frith. You stand in honor and courage. You have passion. You protect your family, folk, frith, and homeland. So where did they get their strength from? From the folk soul. Remember, as Brynhild said, that spirit that is Sigurd or Saman never dies. The folk soul recognizes strength. It recognizes that passion. And what led to you being here, and then what leads to you to say Jesus is not real and the Bible is a fraud. It's a fake. And I am no longer a slave to it. What leads you to be able to say that is the strength of that folk soul. So that is all the Bible is. We will continue to show it in little bits and pieces in our books, as well as how they manipulated our ancient lore. We have got artifacts dating back 40,000 years and more. It is mere gaslighting by the religious cults of Abraham when they portray our northern pagan ancestors are as dirty pagans and barbarians. Really, just think about that. What really changed from the time that these religious cults of Abraham came in and they forced their way and stole our lands and subjugated us? And what really changed? What did they do? Don't compare things now with electronics. And what did they, which actually these electronics, really, they kind of, if you think about it, they make people dumber. You have smart things that think for you. But they came in with massive bloodshed and they called us barbarians. They came in more dirty with doctrines of it's not about washing your hands, it's about consuming dirty things to dirty your soul. Now, our ancestors were clean. I mean, think about it. Walking around in a desert for 40 years. And then they're going to say, I mean, that's sand-infested, flea-infested climate and the whole thing. Our ancestors had mountain, fresh, clean water and air. So when they say that about being barbarians and dirty and stuff like this, that is just gaslighting. Where does that strength come from? And it comes from the ancient lore, the ancient belief system, our ancient gods and goddesses, and our eternal folk soul.